In this next video, I'd like to go over the basic shortcuts of Photoshop CS6. Just for fun, I'll probably call them or refer to them as the cheat codes, but they're really shortcuts. There's so many shortcuts for Photoshop, and I'm not expecting you to memorize a lot of them, but having a few basic shortcuts will speed up your work in Photoshop. And Photoshop is such a huge program that if you don't know some of the shortcuts, your work will be slowed down quite a bit. So this will help you speed up your work and get more efficient. So get out your cheat codes sheet. It looks like this. And then I will be going over these somewhat in order, although I might mix them around a little bit. And you'll need to turn on Photoshop, and you'll need to have an image open. Doesn't matter which one, but like the previous video, make sure you make a copy, so you duplicate the image, and then also duplicate the layer. So I'm using a duplicate copy of the background layer here, and then you're set up and ready to try the shortcuts or the cheat codes. All right, first we'll talk about zooming in and zooming out. I've used Photoshop for a number of years, so I remember the older ways of doing things, and there are some newer and better ways of doing things. The older way of zooming in and zooming out would be to use the control, well, you would use the magnifying glass here. That would be the old way. You could do just click, zoom in. Another old way is to press the control key and the plus key to zoom in. So I'm holding down the control and tapping the plus, or control minus. So those are a couple old ways of doing it. A new way of doing it is to click on the magnifying glass and then left click on your mouse and then just drag to the left or to the right, and you can zoom in and zoom out like this, which is faster, and I'm still getting used to that new way of doing it. If you add the space bar, so if you press the space bar, you'll get the hand tool here, and then hold down the space bar, and then you can move your image. That way you can zoom in and zoom out more precisely. So I'll let go of the space bar and then drag my mouse to zoom in. I'm going to move my eyeball a little bit more, and so I can get very precise with my zooming in and zooming out using the space bar as well, and left holding down with my mouse and dragging to the left or to the right. So you need to practice those. Control 0 brings it back to fit nicely in the Photoshop boxes here, or interface. So try all those different ways of zooming in, zooming out, and don't forget to use the space bar, which will bring up the hand so you can reposition when you are zooming in and zooming out. That's a very valuable skill because you'll be doing lots of editing using the zoom in and zoom out ability. All right, next, each of the tools on the toolbar has its own shortcut. You can learn them, you can memorize them, but a couple that you definitely want to know right away is the brush and the eraser tool. So if I press the letter B, as in brush, you notice that on the tools it goes right to it. If I press E, it goes right to the eraser tool. So that's pretty useful. I'm going to brush something here, and I'm just goofing around. All right, now I could use my eraser tool and just try to erase all of that mess that I just made, but what would be easier is just to simply undo. And you could go up to edit and choose step backward or undo, but that's a lot of clicking. So a very useful shortcut is the Control Alt Z. And so I press and hold down the Control key, the Alt key, and the Z key, all with the three middle fingers of my left hand. And I can make it redo by going Control Shift Z, like that. Control Alt Z is very handy, especially if you want to undo a lot of things. So you want to practice that. So take your brush and just kind of make a mess. Maybe pick a few different colors. Oops. Whatever. okay. And maybe one more. Okay, so I have to undo multiple steps here, so I'll tap the Z once. So I got my Control, Alt, press down. I'm tapping the Z twice, tapping the Z 3 times. Now if I go Control Z or Control Shift Z, that'll redo. So I'll practice that. I should mention real quick here for the brush tool, you notice that it's a very small brush. You can go up into these areas here in the options panel to change the brush size and the way it looks, and you can spend a long time there getting some cool looking brushes. But if you simply just want to increase the size, I would recommend using the bracket keys to increase or decrease your brush size. And the bracket keys are right above the semicolon, comma, and enter keys. And the right bracket increases the brush size. Notice it's increasing in size. And pressing the left bracket key decreases the size. So I want you to be aware of that. And I'll undo that by going Control Alt Z. So I want you to practice all of those new skills that you have already. Zooming in, zooming out, brush size, undo and redo. So take a second to do all that. So pause the video and practice. Alright, next thing we're going to do is create duplicate layer. And you already know how to do that by dragging down here or right-clicking to hit a copy of the layer. But the shortcut is very helpful as well. And so you notice on your cheat code sheet, if you press Control J, it creates a duplicate layer. If you go Control Shift N, N as in new, Control Shift N, it'll create a new layer without anything in it. Just click OK there. So you'll be doing that enough where you'll get automatic, and it will save you time. So practice next the Control J and the Control Shift N. So pause and try it out. Alright, I'm going to delete these layers by dragging them to the trash. And I have my original setup here. Alright, I'm going to make a selection now using my rectangle marquee tool. And I'm just going to draw a selection like that. And what that means is I've selected the area inside of it. So if I was to press B on the keyboard and paint, it's only going to paint inside of my selection. No matter how much I try to paint outside of the selection, it only paints inside of it. So that's the area that's activated. Okay, let me undo that. Control Alt Z. To invert the selection means to choose the outside of it or flipping the selection. It's better. I don't think inverting is necessarily opposite always, but think of flipping the selection to the outside. And so to do that, you go Control Shift I, or you can go up to the menu up here and choose inverse the selection. So if I go inverse here, it does it. Let me undo that. But if I go Control Shift I, notice now if I paint, nothing happens in the middle, but now I have made the outside of that selection, original selection, the active selection. Alright, I'll undo that. Undo it again. Be careful though, if you just go Control I, it'll invert not the selection, but invert the image inside of your selection. And that's a totally different thing. So be careful that if you want to do shortcuts, Control Shift I for inverting the selection. So pause the video and try that one as well. Alright, now I still have the marching ants on. To deselect would be Control D, although you could go up to the select menu and choose deselect. I'm going to go Control D, and that'll get rid of the marching ants. That's really helpful to be reminded of that, because sometimes there's a little tiny selection going on your image, you're not paying attention. Maybe you've zoomed in so much and then zoomed back out and you can't see the marching ants. And Photoshop won't let you continue on with other things until you've decided what to do with that selection. So if you ever come to a point where Photoshop isn't doing anything for you, it's acting stubborn, it almost acts like it's frozen, most likely it's because you have a selection on, and so all you have to do is Control D, and then it's like you're unlocked Photoshop and you can continue working. Right, the next shortcut or cheat code is the F key. If I press F, it just changes the look. If you want to see your image without all of the tools, just keep pressing the F key, and you can just focus on your image instead of all the menus and tools. All right, next I want to go down to the levels, hue, and saturation shortcuts. I'm going to press Control U, the letter U, Control and the letter U, and that'll bring up my hue and saturation. That's a good shortcut to know. It's a basic thing that you use a lot. And what that'll do is just change the color. Notice that the color of the fur in the background changes, and you can increase the intensity of the color. So I got a purple and green dog right now. And click OK. And that was achieved by just doing the Control U to change the hue and saturation. I'm going to go undo, Control Z on that. I'm going to try the next one. Control L will bring up levels. And levels are good for fixing up the image. You can get a little more contrast by bringing the triangles to the edge of the mountain. So we call this a histogram, but when you bring the sliders up to the edge of the mountain, you'll actually fix the photo a little bit better. But you have to be careful not to overdo it. And so this is a simple way of fixing it up. So here where it seems washed out, I bring it up here to raise the contrast, and now my image pops a lot more. So just doing a Control L and playing with the levels a little bit, you can instantly, in a matter of seconds, improve the image. You can also use the eyedroppers to click on something gray. I use the middle eyedropper. I'm looking for something that should be gray. Notice when I click the nose, the whole tone of the image changed. So those are some things to try. I don't recommend playing with the bottom yet. That's more advanced. So all I recommend is playing with the mountain range here, bringing the triangle up to the edge of the mountain range, and using the middle eyedropper to click on something that should be gray in the image, and that can instantly fix the appearance of it. All right, now I've got to finish up here with transforming and copying and pasting. So I'm going to take part of the image. I'm going to use the lasso instead here. I'm just going to grab the nose here. And let's say I just want to do something with this area. I could copy paste this area on another level. And to do that, I would go Control C. So that copies just inside the activated area, and Control V to paste. And notice what Photoshop did. It just took that area and created a new layer with just that selected area in it. So that's a pretty handy tool. Copy pasting is still pretty important. Let me turn the eyeball back on. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to grow that area. I could use the T tool, which is the transform tool. Don't get it confused with this T tool, which is your text tool. I'm sorry. But when you go Control T, what you'll get is the transform ability. And there's lots of things you can do. You can warp. You can try something like this. You could warp the nose a certain way, make it bigger, stretch it, make them look a little bit grumpier, things like that. And you can change the hue and saturation. If you do something with the transform tool, it waits for you to click on the check mark, so it'll be frozen. It won't let you do anything else until you click the check mark or cancel it. Okay, and then if I brought the Control U and change the hue and saturation, you can make that area of his nose a different color, a different appearance. So that doesn't look good. I'd have to play around to make it look better. But that's a quick run through of all the shortcuts that I want you to start with. So give those some time, and please practice. The more you practice these, the faster you'll get.